All right, welcome back to our training workshop. We are commencing the modified toolbar. The very first tool on the modified toolbar, this is the modified toolbar. The very first tool is erase. Let me explain something about the word modify. Modify means to make changes, to edit anything you have already. So when we talk about modification, we want to make changes to our existing project or drawings. Now, for example, if I have this, if I don't need it again, I can click on it and tap erase, and that is it. It goes off. So to erase means to remove or delete something. That is what erase does. Then the next tool is copy. To copy means to duplicate something. You can duplicate into two places, or duplicate into several places, 3, 4, 5, 6, any number that you like. But before an object can be copied, the objects will be selected, and when you click on the copy tool, the tool will ask you to select a base point. The base point is just a reference point around the object with which the object will be copied from one place to another. So if I hit on copy, like I said, it will ask me to specify a base point. I can specify it as my base point and begins to drop it, and just like that. So I've succeeded in duplicating 2 more of this particular original object. And if I want to terminate the command, I just hit escape. So that is how the copy tool works. Now the next tool is mirror. Now you actually use the mirror tool to also duplicate an object, just like copy. But the mirror tool now allows you to duplicate the object in the opposite direction. It's just like when you stand in front of a mirror. You see yourself duplicated, but the duplicate is in the opposite direction, facing you, as you stand facing the mirror. So look at this guy, for example. I can have a duplicate copy of this guy, but in the opposite direction, facing this guy. So I tap on mirror. It also asks me to select first mirror point. I can select here as my first mirror point. I click, I drag my crosshair straight up. It will then ask me to select second mirror point. The second mirror point is the final point with which I will click to completely mirror this object. So I just click on a line on that vertically straight part that I'm in. So it's asking me now, look at the crosshairs, asking me whether I want to erase source object. Of course, this is the source object. If I don't want to erase source object, I can type N for no, then enter. By default, you can see no there, highlighted. Or if I want to erase the source object, I will type Y for yes, I want to erase source object, and enter, of which this source object will now go. But as it is now, I don't want to erase the source object, so I type N and then I say enter. So you can see that this object has been mirrored in the other direction, and this is the mirrored one. If I like, I can even mirror in this direction. Let me select this object again. I tap on mirror. This time around, because I want to mirror in this down direction, so I choose here as my base point and align my crosshair this way. Can we see this? So we are going to choose our second mirror point at any point along this path that I'm in. So I click here as my second mirror point. I don't want to erase the source object, so I type N, enter, and that's it. So I've mirrored this guy down. Now let me do another case in which I will erase my source object. Okay, select, tap on mirror, my first mirror point, my second mirror point. Now I want to tap Y, the source object. Yes, the source object should be erased. That is what Y means, and then I enter. You see, because the source object at the top is gone. So that is how the mirror tool works. The next tool after mirror is offset. Now the offset tool is used for lines only, and it is used for duplicating lines at a particular distance from one another. For example, if I have this, okay, no, let me not use this. Let me make a copy of this out. Let me hit copy. Let me make like 2 copies of it. You see, I actually copied it from here down here. Okay, so now let me tap on offset. When I tap on offset, it's not asking me to specify offset distance. Let me specify 225 as my offset distance and tap enter. Now it's asking me to select object to offset. Now I want to offset these lines. Can you see that? It's now duplicating the lines at 225 inside. So these are my offsetted lines. So these are offset works. And let's note that offset works on only lines. You can only offset lines. That is how offset works. Now, offset is a very important tool in all aspects of engineering and architecture. What you are seeing here on the screen is the beginning of drawing a building floor plan. This is how you start to draw a building floor plan. So it's a very useful tool in architecture and engineering. Now the next tool is array. Okay. Now what is an array? An array is an arrangement of objects in a regularly repeating pattern in rows and columns for rectangular array, and then about an angle for circular or polar array. Now before you can array an object either in the rectangular or circular form or manner, you need to have one instance of the object. For example, we can have an instance of an object 200 by 200 by 200. Let's have one instance of this object. Now this object can be arrayed to give us a 4 by 4 rectangular array. Now let's assume we want a distance of 200 between the arrayed objects. Now AutoCAD measures the distances center to center. So if we are to have a distance of 200 between the objects, and we have this guy as 200, that means from the middle to this edge is 100 for this one, and then for the next one from the middle to this edge is 100. So 100 plus 100 plus the in between distance of 200 will now give us a total of 400. So if we are entering our array distance, we are going to enter 400 because the object measures the distance, and the software measures the distance center to center. But our actual in distance between the arrayed objects will be 200. So let's take an example so that we'll get very clear what we are trying to say. Now I tap on array. When I tap on array, I'm asked to select object. Now this is the object I want to array. I've selected it. I tap enter on my keyboard. Now when I tap enter on my keyboard, if I come to the bottom, I will see options. Now I'm going to choose this count option in order for me to specify to the software the number of rows and columns I need in the array. So I choose the count option by typing C and then I enter. You see, can you see that on the command prompt?
now asking me to enter number of rows. We have said before that we'll be doing a 4x4 array, so I type 4 and enter. Enter number of columns, I also type 4 and enter. Now I need to come to the bottom. If you come to the bottom, you see the spacing option. I need to choose the spacing option so that I will enter my own distance between rows and column, or my own spacing between rows and columns. So I type 8 for the spacing option and enter. When I enter, it's now asking to specify distance between rows. We have designed our distance before to be 400, so I enter. Distance between columns is also 400, and I enter. So this is our array of, this is our 4x4 array with a center to center distance of 400 but an in to in distance of 200 according to our design. So you must get it, 400, our in to in distance is 200. Okay, let me, I can reduce the font size of these dimensions by clicking on one of the dimensions and then clicking my property tools, and then in my resulting property tool dialog box, I will come to test and then come to my test height. In my test height, I can change my test height to 100. See, I've reduced it and it has gone in. Good. So what I mainly did was to select it, choose my property. Now when I select it and choose property, the properties of this test alone comes out. So I come to my test height and I choose 100. Okay, so this one could not go in, but we can actually do this. We can manually drag it in here. Good. So that is it. Now this is how rectangular array works. Now the next type of array is polar array. Now if you come to this small drop down here, click and hold it down and then navigate to polar array. See, polar array now replaces rectangular array here. This is where you got to just click and hold this down and then scroll to it. Now polar array or circular array is array about a circle. So before you can do that, you must have a circle drawn. So let's take a circle of radius 1000, and then we have one instance of the array inside a circle. Now if I click on polar array to ask me to select object, this is the object. This line is one instance of the array, so that's the object. I select it and tap enter. Now it's now asking me to specify center point. This is the center point. I clicked on the center point. It's now asking me to enter number of items. By default we have 4 here. This is it. So let me enter 8 as my number of items. Tap on enter. Now specify angle to fill. You know the entire angle about this circle is 360. Now if I specify 360, the entire circle will be filled. But if I specify 270, the angle that corresponds to 270 will be filled. If I specify 180, half of the circle will be filled, and just like that. So let me specify 90 degrees. You see, one part of the circle is filled. Now assuming I have another circle, let me repeat it again. This time around, radius is 1000. Tap on enter. Specify one instance of it. Click on my polar array. Select object, enter. Specify center point. Just follow the prompt. Enter number of items. Number of items is 8. Then specify angle to fill. This time let me specify 270. Good. So the array is moving anti-clockwise. You see, it starts from here and it's moving like this. So when you specify 90, it fills up to 90 degrees from here down to here. When you specify 270, it moves down and fills up to this place. By the time you specify 360, it will move down and fill back up to this place. So the entire circle will be filled. So that is how the Polar Array tool works. The next tool is Move. Now what Move mainly does is that it displaces an object from one place to another. Displaces a component or a drawing from one place to another. It's an easy tool to use. All we need to do is to select the object first and click on the tool Move. When we click on the tool, it will now ask us to specify a base point to move. A base point is just a reference point with which to move the object. If you specify the middle here, you see the object moving, and that's it. Object has moved from one point to another. So that is how Move works. The next tool is Rotate. We have seen Rotate before when we used At Selected. But in this tool, we'll be focusing on Rotate alone. In this At Selected, we scaled both in the X and Y and then did rotation along with that. But here we are going to focus on Rotate alone. Now, before the rotation tool can be used, the object must be selected. Now, assuming I want to rotate just this line in this entire object, I select it, I click on Rotate. So now ask me to specify base point. Assuming I want to use it as my reference point of rotation, I click on it. You can see the object rotating. Then I type in my rotation angle, say 45. Rotation angle is 45 degrees and tap Enter. See? That line has been rotated about 45 degrees. Now I can equally rotate these other three lines to go and meet it. I click on Rotate. This is the base point, and then I click on 45 and then tap Enter. You can see I've rotated the entire bottom part of the object. But now let me rotate everything at a time. So I tap on Rotate, I choose my base point and I tap 45 and Enter, and that's it. The object has been rotated about 45 degrees. Good. So the next tool is Scale. You see, we had an idea of scale when we use At Selected. You can use scale to either enlarge an object or reduce an object with the use of a scale factor. For example, in this particular object, we actually scaled this 1200 in both X and Y to give us 2400. We actually scaled by 2. We enter the rotation a scale factor of 2. When you want to scale anything bigger, you use a number greater than 1 to scale anything bigger. Then you want to scale anything smaller, you use a number less than 1. Then if you want the object to remain the same, you use 1 as your scale factor. So for example, this guy we are seeing here, you can copy it. When you copy it, you explode it first. Now we can scale this guy. Let's select it and tap on Scale. Now it asks you to specify base point. Let's use the middle point as a base point, somewhere around the middle here, and then let's type in a scale factor of 2, and that's it. It has been scaled bigger. Now let me copy it to somewhere else and scale with 0.5. You see that it will come back to the 1200 that it was before. I tap on Scale after selecting. I choose around the middle as my base point and I type 0.5 to make it smaller. See, it has come back to the 1200. So this is how scale works. Thank you very much. This is the end of this module of the workshop.